does "because we're curious" mean to me? Well, it's something I kind of dreamt up. There are two key shows by Michael Clarke that he made in the 80s. One of them is "Because We Must," and the other one is "I Am Curious Orange." And I participated in both of those shows, as well as shows that he had made prior to that. So I've fused the titles and I've come up with "Because We're Curious," because I have been invited to make a project in parallel with the exhibition. And a project that would happen in the foyer and around the building, and that would allow people to join us in some movement. I certainly don't want to steal anybody's thunder. Not that anybody could steal Michael Clarke's thunder. So rather than having people learn a bit of a Michael Clarke show or go take that particular route, I thought of mounting something complementary, a kind of alternative, so that people could enter the exhibition maybe having done some movement in the foyer. There's a small community of people to whom that is happening. They join us with some movement and then they experience this dance-related exhibition. Yes, I knew the exhibition was happening. It took place in London first and has come here to Dundee. And I knew that a lot of archive material was being used. I'm rather used to this vis-a-vis Michael Clarke and his work, because it was so beautifully filmed and documented at the time. So there are lots of lovely things that sing out to people, video-wise and in terms of photos. And so there's always going to be a great airing for those. So I knew that would be happening. What I think is marvelous, though, really, is that in this city we have a running exhibition about dance and about theatre and about performance. I love exhibitions like that. Yes, I think it's fantastic, and also to see the evidence of dance around in the city. There are some fantastic, great big hoardings hanging from the lampposts, which feature Michael in an extreme pose. And just to see those things out in the city gladdens my heart. He's a man from Scotland, made a journey, and now a lot of that information resides here for a while. Well, there is an interest, perhaps. People either come upon me well-informed or not, you know. And so some people have researched and figured out that there are workshops happening and have come up from London or made a particular beeline, you know, to participate. And some people are just coming in here out of the rain, you know, and want an ice cream or something. And so there's a pretty wide catchment. Not everybody connects me to the Michael Clarke Company in particular, as I'm there, moving and doing my thing. I don't have a, you know, they just see this mature guy and maybe they'll figure some things out. There's a great big screen playing in the foyer, and that's got archive stuff on it. It's got 80s interviews and documentaries, and it's on a loop. And I do flick up in it, getting on a train or working in a rehearsal with Michael. And that's the background against which I'm working, which is pretty unusual and pretty peculiar situation to be in. I don't really look the same way. No. So it's not obvious. The connection's not obvious. So it's more when I'm working with the groups that we've recruited and we go through a process, they know who I am in relation to this exhibition. and otherwise people who converse with us afterwards in the foyer. We have conversations and then it sort of emerges. This project is special and unusual in the sense that we had wonderful planning meetings, and then we got various things set up, events where we would work with students and different groups to actually mount something, and that has happened. We've also investigated the idea of making something in public. So the making of something is an interesting thing to watch happen. Maybe in the context of this museum where a lot of things get made, and actually it's a display house, but it's also a making place. That's gone a lot better than I thought it would, actually. And in the process of working with our student groups and so on, I've always done a bit of a warm-up, to kind of prepare to practice the next bit. And what we found is that members of the public would sort of join in, and children particularly, but others too. And so, because of the collaboration that I've got here with the V&A, we could say that worked well, and so why don't we just let that roll, actually, the spontaneous aspect. Let's let that rolling stone gather the moss, and let's see if that's a thing. And now that's rather taken over as being the principal aspect of our days here, that every hour on the hour we're giving a 15-minute burst of something that people are meant to be able to join, whether they then go and see the exhibition or not, whether they've come out of the exhibition and they would like to do some movement, just to feel a level of physicality and a level of connection with all this. I think it's actually quite an ambitious project in its scope and in its embrace, and has a lot to pull off and a lot to organise and coordinate. That is a challenge. What makes it feasible is actually an appreciation of all the staff members who are in the space anyway, going about their business with tasks, and maybe ushering, or maybe just like waiting to sell tickets and things like this. So each of those people sees this stuff as well, which is wonderful, because then you don't have to go and explain it loads. It sort of reveals itself to everybody watching, and that supports, that level of interest supports the work. I think also Dawn and I have to pull this thing off physically. So as much as the ideas are strong and the coded words, because we're curious, and where the vowels fall and how that gives us a choreographic structure, as much as that is an underlying strength, we still have to embody our purpose. We still have to make all of those things work. It couldn't happen without our ability to sense our bodies and that kind of clarity that's all there in Michael's work, and that is still a really strong influence on us. And it's something that we've got to do. And so I think that's very truthful, in the sense that it's like a dance performance in that way. Somebody's actually got to go out and convey what's supposed to happen. And I think that's dead right.